welcome to another edition of the Kilted Homesteader. Today we're going to be doing a little light machining on my mini lathe for a part for my Dearborn 1288 corn planter. It's in really good condition considering how old it is, but there's one piece that I have to machine. This here is a latch that holds the plate in place right here, that holds the planter seat plate in place. And on this side it works perfectly. It's got a spring right there, and there's a rivet that goes up through here that holds everything into place. Now on the other side, the rivet, the spring is missing, so I have to get another spring. And this rivet, it had broken off a little bit on the end, so it was no longer being held into place. There was nothing there to pin over to hold it in place, so this thing would fall out, and I don't want to lose it in the field. Now, I went online and I looked to try to buy this piece, and I could find the rivets, find the size you need, but everybody wants you to buy 100 pieces or a half pound, and it would be like $15 to spend. I mean, $15, I mean, it's a decent amount of money. Yeah, sure, I could spend it, but then what am I gonna do with 99 other rivets laying around my shop? And I'd rather not have something else to move around or work around. So today we're gonna try to machine one on our mini lathe out of a piece of ready rod. So we're gonna see how that goes. All right, so on the parts sheet for this planter, I looked up that part, and it shows the latch that we just showed you there, and then it has the rivet, and it's 3/16 in diameter and 1 1/4 inches, not counting obviously the round head at the top. So 1 1/4 inches is what we need to machine lengthwise, and it has to be 3/16 in diameter in order for this to work properly. Okay, so what I did was I have a length of 3/8 ready rod. It's actually a fairly long length, but I can pass this through my motor, my head, and it actually comes out the other side on this lathe. You can get up to 3/4 of an inch. So rather than waste a piece of metal, I just leave it long like it is, and then I'll just cut it off when I'm done. But this is 3/8 ready rod. I know you're not supposed to have more than triple the width hanging out past on here. Otherwise you could have some deflection issues. But we're gonna try to take really small cuts at a time because I don't have something I can grab onto this. So we're gonna just machine this down to 3/16 of an inch is our goal. And I put a mark there at the 1.5 inch mark. So we're gonna machine all the way out to 1.5 inches, and then I can always shorten it up at the end. But right now we're just gonna take that down, and then we'll work on the head part next. So initially we're gonna have to take our threads off of this ready rod to get it down the sides. This is 3/8 ready rod, so obviously I'm gonna have to remove quite a bit of material to get going here. All right, we took our first initial cut off, just a little bit. I think we took like maybe 5/1000 off of there. And sure you can see, anybody knows, machining knows, you always do a face cut on the end. I didn't do the face cut because to me at this point it'd be a waste, because the end's gonna get chopped off or cut off to length anyway. Plus I'll be peening it over later. So now we're gonna take just a little bit more off this time. Like I said, we're just doing a little bits at a time so we don't have problems with too much being taken off and cause chatter or anything like that. Okay, so we're just taking 1/1000 or 2 off at a time, very slowly. There is some flex in this, and as a result of this end here is fatter than it is down here where it's more stable, because I don't have a tailstock attached to that. So what I'm doing is still keeping at the same measurement and just shaving a little bit off of this here as it's going through. So it's a slow, tedious process, but it is working. because you'll see it doing cuts initially, and then you'll see where it's already down to size, it stops all of a sudden. You'll see the chip stop building up in it. So we're just doing a little bits at a time until we get the proper fit. Again, this is not a machine that's really geared towards doing a lot of work with steel and stuff. Typically brass and plastic is what the type of things this machine is used for. There's only 3/4 of a horsepower, but you can get it to cut some steel as long as you're taking your time and you're not in a big rush and you're not running your tool too fast. It seems to do a pretty good job, at least in my experience with it, which isn't a whole lot, but I learn a little bit as I go along. I'm gonna check it over, because I don't want to take off too much because I'm screwed. It's getting right down to it. Yeah, it's starting to very close. See how it's, could check on the micrometer, but I'm just checking with this because I know about what it needs to be at. So we're just gonna take another thousandths off. And we'll probably do a couple things like I just said. So we just about have this down to the size that we need. We're just trying to just take little bites off at a time to get where we need to be. We're trying to polish it up and make sure that everything's nice and even. So far, doing it this way is working out well. Just a shade off. That's probably going to do it this time. right there. Just gonna take one more cut off. I think that'll be it. I don't want it to be too loose. I don't want it to be too tight where it's just deforming everything as it goes in. Plus we're gonna be driving into a piece of cast, and you don't want to be beating on cast iron too often, or it always tends to, like I always say, a cast iron, it's always good until it isn't. It all of a sudden breaks and then you're up the creek. Take a little bit more of a cut. That should do it. Of course, it would have probably been a lot cheaper to buy the $15 box of rivets, but I don't want to be tripping over rivets forever, and I have a lathe for a reason. Let's see what we're looking at now. So close. Just want to take one more pass on it. Okay, so we machined our rivet down to size, and the head, I may look a little crude, but I cut it off and I used the grinder to kind of smooth the head down, kind of a rounded head shape, very similar to what the original one would have been like. Again, this is overly long. We'll cut that to length, but for now we're just going to drive it through this initial piece. So this is the cast piece here, and it's cast, and cast breaks easy, as many of you know. So we got to be careful. So I'm trying to give it a good firm presence right there at the bottom, so nothing's hitting on the ears here, and we're going to drive down through, right through here and into that, and then that bolt there will allow it to pass through as we're tapping it, and we're just going to go real slow through it. It's going through okay. It's coming through the bottom. Just want to make sure we're not hitting anything because we don't want to peen the end over just yet. And there it's in, real loose on that end, but it's tight in the other end, and that's where it needs to be tight. So that worked out really well. So now we got to put it on the planer itself. Again, that's a little loose in there, but that's okay. We need it to be tight up in this area. Here is where the tightness needs to be. All right, so we're going to just tap this right in through here. Come right up through. Again, a little loose is okay through there. We just want it to be snug like that right there. And then we still got to get a spring to put on there. And obviously this is going to get cut down to size, and then I'm going to peen that end over. So we got our rivet in place here. It's the head of it's down here. We knocked it through, and then we were able to take a hammer and punch. We put a solid piece of metal on the other side here to drive against, and we peened that end over there so it's not coming out at all now. And it'll, once we get that spring for it and put into place, then that will help hold this open, and this will not come out. I'm trying to pull it out, it will not come out, and it moves the way it needs to. So, you know, a little time in the workshop, it, you know, I guess time costs money too sometimes, but it was better than having 500 rivets that I didn't need when I only needed one. So it just goes to show you that that you can oftentimes do things yourself and then do it in your own workshop. Not everybody's fortunate enough to have a mini lathe, but it just shows you the versatility of a mini lathe and how handy it is to have in a workshop, especially when you're trying to fabricate and build things on a small scale. Am I a professional machinist? No, but we were able to get the job done with just a 3/8 piece of ready rod and a little bit of patience and ingenuity. So I hope you found this video interesting. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I also encourage you to subscribe to our channel, and we see more videos like this about little things that we work on around the homestead and in the workshop. And I also encourage you to hit the notifications so you're notified of new videos that come out. So thank you again for watching another edition of The Kilted Homesteader.